Hi, my name is Neil Thomason, Executive Director of the Connecticut Film and TV Conference 2024. I want to thank you for taking the time to learn more about the film and television industry here in Connecticut and the region. But before we get to our panel, I want to thank our host, Goodwin University, for providing a clean and safe space. This event was brought to you by the Connecticut Film and TV Alliance in partnership with Joe Young Entertainment. Please check out our sponsors, Chair 10, Firesite Films, Actors Gym, Flickvana, Connecticut Film Office, Shadow Vale Productions, Angel Eyes Productions, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, JT Design, 48 Hour Film Fest, Yukon Digital Media and Design, Connecticut River Valley Chamber of Commerce, IATSE Local 52, Camera Bar, Chamber Insurance Trust, Soundtrack, Utility Communication, and Clock Tower Tax Credits. Thanks again to our sponsors. Without them, this event would not be possible. So please now enjoy the production team panel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and I am very excited that you're here for this panel. I'm sure more people will be piling in. So I ask any of you in the back, come forward. Come on closer. All right. We have some exquisite guests here tonight. Production company that has thrived here in Connecticut, doing a lot of things. I don't want to do a lot of introductions. I want them to talk for themselves. My name is Alec Asten, fellow filmmaker, and I'm glad to be here as a moderator for you guys. And we're going to telling about stories and telling stories in Connecticut. So with further ado, I'm going to introduce David Gere.
Hey guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess let me go right down. So Ryan
Sweeney, cinematographer with Vale Productions.
My name is Vale Production.
I'm Russ Martin, producer, logistics.
We kind of adopted Russ for the panel, but Russ has been with me, or we've been with each other, I guess, for a very long time. He's probably, I always say this, I don't know if it's true, but I think it's true. He's probably the longest Connecticut film production relationship I've had, actually. So, and he works on all of our films. So,
yeah, and obviously this is what it's all about. It's all about relationships. It's all about the people here in Connecticut that live and thrive. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to just go right down the panel to each of you guys, and I just would like to give an introduction of how you got involved with the film industry. How did it start? What was even your earliest dreams? Because I think a lot of people out here are in that point where they want to kind of get more involved with it, and they don't know where to start. So Dave, do you mind?
Yeah, sure. No, first of all, thank you guys for all corralling back in. I want to thank Neil for putting this together and inviting me, and Jonathan and Ed and Bob and everyone associated with the Alliance. Is really special. And the funny thing is, I was a VIP interviewee. Is that the right way to say it? 11 years ago. And then, things have evolved. And but you look back and you say, wow, that 10-year mark, and we're really doing this, and my message is, there's a lot of you out there in the green seats that spoke to me tonight, or I said hello to, that are been cast or hired on my movies. I've even got family here that we now have to hire. We're kidding, Landon. That's Chelsea's brother-in-law, who's from LA. He's a talented grip. And we built a strong company here. We've made many movies here, and I think it's a new era, and we've seen that tonight. And but in talking to friends and peers earlier tonight, I've come to realize that my message, or what I think my message should be, is young team and how to elevate and how to turn the corner. Because I think the confusion and the haze and the hard part, and I heard this tonight, is okay. I've got the dream, right? We all kind of are born with the dream, right? Or that's why we're all crazy in here. And then how do you, the first step kind of comes because people need you, we need a guy to shoot it. We need a pretty face to be in it. We need a crew, we need extras. And then, so that's the fast start, but how do you get to doing this in a sustainable way? So that's what I'm going to talk about. But I also want my young team to kind of share their experiences and how we do it. And we're blessed that we are highly sustainable as a production company. I've made more I've produced movies that I've forgotten about, quite frankly, until I had to put my resume together for Neil. but I'm proud to say that because it was hard and it took a long time and many years. And Ed's part of my team. Thank you, Ed. And I want a jacket. That's a cool jacket. So it's really hard, but if you listen and think and meet people, especially people that are here tonight, you can elevate and do it. And you have to before I let the young guns talk because they never listen, but we'll find out if they listen.
Right.
The thing is, you have to find the thread for yourself. There was a young man who was in my. I also teach acting. Um, Never was a good actor, but somehow ended up teaching acting. But I was speaking to a gentleman tonight, and I said, he had so many questions, and I just see this through path for everyone that and you have to find that yourself, and that's meeting the right people, being on the right production, being on the wrong production, traveling in this industry a little bit, coming back, being part of this community, because that thread, I call it like your personal velocity. That's what I've always called it for me. You have to figure that out. And once you figure that out, the noise and the kind of the polar sides that pull at you. And I think I heard someone in Jonathan's panel say, your family is trying to figure out when you're going to have a real job. That's how you block it out because you follow that through path, So those are the things I'm going to talk about tonight about you guys. So
So yeah. So let me just pass right down the line, and I want you to start. Where did it all start? Where did you decide? You started as father, correct?
Well, no, I'm actually a transplant from the music industry. My uncle, most people won't know the name of the band, The Wanderers. My uncle was the founder of The Wanderers. Some people may. Yeah, if Ed does, it does. So I grew up in that space to where my uncle was the founder of The Wanderers. My aunt was their entertainment agent. So at 13, 14 years old, I'm learning what contracts are for music world. So I went to Greater Harvard Academy of the Arts, a beautiful school here in Connecticut. That was a very enriching program. I ended up at Berklee College of Music. I ended up as a touring musician. I was with a amazing group through Dave, a group that we were playing with Florida Georgia Line, Brantley Gilbert, Lady Antebellum, amazing bands. But then through that mist, somehow photography became a thing. And then I found Dave I was shooting photography.
the truth is, I at one time owned the largest nightclub in Central Connecticut.
That's a connecting.
Yes. And he bumped into me.
Yes.
As he was shooting my nightclub.
Yes.
And I
Piece.
said, show me where you're shooting. 'Cause I don't think I want that photo to
But then he's like,
to matriculate to the universe.
but then he's like, wait a minute. There's artistry here.
And when I later saw his work, I was like, wow, he's really talented.
And that was the pinnacle
That really is the truth. That's how we started working together.
of our fusion of what we've done for so many years. That was that moment.
So Ryan was an incredibly talented photographer, and I don't mean to put you in that box. You were 20, so that's a good box
I was.
for your 20s. But he's now gone on to DP and shoot movies.
Yeah. And that was a juxtaposition of meeting him. He says, wow, there's something here. You want to shoot BTS on my films? So I did a couple of those, and I said, wow, these are kind of cool. Big stars, people who I wouldn't have met outside of the music industry. Like, it's cool. So then I start doing this, one to the next, Tommy DiNucci, everybody who we went. And now it was, do you want to DP a feature? And I did not even know what that meant. And literally for my first AC, for all the crew members out here, as a DP, to look and say to your first AC, what do you do? They're looking at me like, you should be telling us what to do. But then to juxtapose from there to now, to where all the things that we do together, all of that you brought to us, it's been so amazing to see that trajectory. It's been amazing to see what we've done and to see how my career has been elevated by the graces of what you've delivered and the fertile path that you've given to everybody in the community here in New England of what we do for filmmaking. That's yours.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it is right. These relationships that form. I mean, that's an interesting story in itself. Well, the fact that you've helped, raise your passion from going on from still photography, and that's what I thought. So it's great to hear that the relationship went on you before in that.
And I'll say this, Jonathan Black, this is the best on-set photographer on the planet. Trust me, and it's not because he's my boy. So this is the guy to make your productions look even more amazing.
Okay, Taylor, want to hear your story?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in LA, so I moved there in 2009, and I was a young actor in LA, so I grew up there. I was on CSI for a couple years, and grew up on film. Decided to be a first AD on film, so that type of aspect of the whole industry is a little bit different than just being part of the crew. You have to know about timing. You have to know about when crew is about to be there, when the cast is about to be there. So it's a little bit difficult at some parts. So it's been amazing so far. We just we just wrapped the movie with Mila Jokovic and Rosario Dawson. So that was a great fucking film that we did.
I
So
hope nobody's under 18 in the room.
yeah.
His talent relations with those members was uncanny.
Yes, yeah, I worked with them for a lot of years, so it's fun being from LA, coming to Connecticut because like the whole crew and everyone there, we all work with each other.
There's a fusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everything works so well with each other. It's just amazing. And Russ has been with us for I feel like 8 years by now, right? Yeah, for a long time. So we've all worked with each other, and it's been like a amazing adventure so far. Yeah.
It's important for me to shout out my esteemed better half, my beautiful other better half, my partner and girlfriend, Chelsea Vale. She would have been here tonight, but we have a 8-month-old baby. But Taylor is her brother, and yes, and we were able to integrate her family, is a true. I'm jealous because I had to sleep in my car to get into the industry, but they are a true LA transplant family that worked on both sides of the camera, incredibly talented. My Chelsea's better looking than you, but they have brought a tremendous amount of support in industry knowledge
I
and
mean, it's amazing coming from LA to Connecticut. It's like, hey, you get people who are, just all right, we'll do it just for the job. Out here, people are very insertive. They're very eager to work out here, which makes it a lot easier for production value. Like, hey, we have people that want to work in Connecticut, make Connecticut a bigger, Hollywood, you know, scenario, which we want to contribute that to everywhere. Like Hollywood, people may say, "Hey, it's dying," but it's not. We're just expanding to different eras. Hey, we're going to Connecticut. We're going to New Jersey. We're going to Rhode Island, and that's what our goal is right now. Like, hey, let's just expand this to everywhere.
In a beautiful sentiment to Chelsea, you said this. You said we do it for maybe some people do it just for the work. We literally have rap parties to where Chelsea Vale, who is not on the stage right now, this is the most hardest working female producer slash actress. There's been times to where she is like number 3 on the or number 2 on the call sheet, and she's an EP. We've done rap parties to where we're on tables yelling hashtag we did it for her. That's like seeing that ambition, that drive, what she did. How many movies have we done that have been those rap parties to where Chelsea was the queen and the pinnacle of what she did for these productions?
Yeah, it's just
That's
amazing.
such an amazing thing. So all the grace and the God, the love to her. So sure, round of applause to Chelsea Vale. Can't be here.
Russ, yo,
the story. Oh yeah, so it's just I met Lauren Black for the first time tonight, who's a mother of 2, and I said first of all I said I don't know how a human being in this industry. I said this to Jonathan too. I don't know how a human being in this industry could have more than one child because one seemed impossible. But what Ed is referencing, which is what makes Chelsea and my baby Aria really a miracle, but an impossible situation. So I think Chelsea and I produced 10 movies in the last year, and during that time, she was acting and producing Pregnant. She produced how many? 3? Yeah. We rented Hartford Training Hospital to film one of our Tubi originals in, and Ed knows. See, Ed's a location guy, and we gave birth a mere few hundred feet away in the real Hartford Hospital, and Chelsea was still producing
Taxi production.
right up to
Get this.
baby and right after baby, and
we were in another wing, literally getting footage in the other wing, and her brothers are running up, trying to go to visit. We go visit.
Grant came up. I was like, I'm gonna go.
But this is a good intro for Russ because Russ really held it down for us when we were having a baby. and I always and Ed too, and I always admire and respect that about you guys. But Russ was critical. Both of you guys were critical in setting up our next movie, which we went right into producing. So you should talk a little bit about that time in our history.
Yeah, well, my basic history is I started off as a journalist. I went out to LA. I started building sets. I got a job as an AD. Came back, did a movie with Dave. It was my first time in Connecticut, making a movie. I'd spent some time in New York where I did what a lot of you guys have done, and I heard a couple stories tonight. When I got to New York, I had no network. In LA, I was doing fine, had job after job after job. Everything was great. Got to New York, no one knew me, so they wanted me to be a PA, and I was like, well, I did that before. I don't want to be a PA. So, well, do you know how to work lights? Oh, yeah, I know how to work lights. I've seen them go up, and you plug them in. That's great. Yeah, so I became a lighting specialist, and somebody else said, hey, you know how to do sound? Oh, yeah, I know how to do sound. You go the thing up. So I just kept lying and lying and lying and kept working very consistently in New York until I got a very good skill base, which allowed me to move to Connecticut. And then we jumped on this little movie, a complete artistic vision. And me and Dave helped produce it, get it through. And then not immediately after that, we got that kind of together. And then I directed my first one with Mr. Daniel Gere over there. And
There he is. Very talented director.
so he held my hand as my first AD as we got through doing that. And then we just kind of, we go out, and I got my own company. We do my own thing. But whenever I'm in Connecticut, I either hire Dave, and Dave does most of his work in Connecticut.
I didn't think you could afford me. I didn't know that you hired me.
I got you.
It's very expensive to hire me.
You have come through clutch.
I want to say this about Russ because this is the exact message that I wanted to get across. Russ, and the story you just told, is a great example of how he set himself up with the initial opportunities that a lot of you guys told me tonight, and I know many of you are experiencing. And he stopped and said, "I kind of want to do this for myself." And he kind of quickly passed through something very important there. Russ paused after working in his industry and all those things he said that he sort of faked it till he made it.
Learned on the fly.
And he stopped and he directed his first feature, and he did an amazing job, and I helped him produce that. I acted in it, and that's a good example of, I think I'm ready, and I think I need to kind of get to that level of doing something that's me, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. Because how many of you have been in my acting class? There's a lot of you guys here. That's a lot. Yeah. I want to talk about that because I think a lot of actors, you have an ache as an actor, because as production people, there's a need for us, right? We get hired because people have to make movies and money spent, but actors, it's tough because it's very hard. So I want to talk about that a little bit tonight too. But
Please, as a matter of fact,
okay.
take it on now.
Yeah. I've got the coolest moderator too. Look at this. He's a handsome guy. I like the way you put this together, because I think it's about giving the opportunity to talk about what's important for the next step for you guys, right? So I'm going to talk about actors, because how many people in here are primarily actors? It's a lot. It's almost everybody.
Oh, wow.
Right? So this is the hardest part of our industry, because the old adage has existed for a long time, and we're part of that change. But you have to be in New York City, or you have to be in LA, and then they said Atlanta, and now they say Boston and Georgia. Thanks to all of us now, yeah, and now we say Connecticut, but it's so challenging. So I just had a conversation with Randy, who was in my class, and I said it's time to make the move to kind of embrace the next step, and the next step is being honest with yourself and really checking yourself and making sure that you have industry correct details. And how do you figure that out? You have to talk to the professionals that give you feedback. So if you're friends with someone that's at the next level as an actor, it's important to make sure that you have those details in place, because that's what propels you to the next level and have people notice you, to cast you and audition you for your film. And I'll say that I started out as an actor, and out of frustration or opportunity or my business relations, I became a producer. So I can relate to both sides, and I'm unique in that regard. But I would say that for actors, this is the marking, right? Stay here, because as you follow that advice that's kind of no longer relevant. You become a small fish in a massive pond, and you may still have all your talent and your beauty and your handsomeness and your attributes and your skill, but it becomes much harder because of what's happening here. There's way more opportunity, and that's not to say don't look to New York City and Boston if your manager, agent, or friend suggests it. But if you stay here and you meet all of us and you meet people that we're part of tonight,
New England is a great
I
market.
guarantee you'll have that next opportunity for sure.
Yeah, and I think it leads us right to where I want to go down. I want all you guys to address this too about, making these films in Connecticut, what you've encountered, and probably let's just start on the optimistic side. What have you found most beneficial of making the films here, whether it's the connections that you've grown up with, whether it's like the locations that you're seeing, whether it's the town,
100%.
what are the things that you've seen and experienced that are just like, this is a place that needs to be tapped more?
What I've been proving over the last 3 years, just because I keep getting asked to do this part because I'm we get all these productions coming into Connecticut. I'm usually one of the local guys. Like, oh, if you need to find something, Russ can find it for you. I have found locations in Connecticut for various budgeted films, from London, England, to New Mexican desert, and it's all here. It's all in Connecticut. Midwest, clearly New England, the South, European areas, depends on where you are in Connecticut. You can fake most things in this, and that's
The visual diversity.
the visual diversity of Connecticut is top notch. It is one of the things that we don't get enough credit for. And we have literally, I was doing a TV pilot. I had the plane tickets already bought for 15 people to fly to New Mexico to shoot a scene of some coyotes taking people over the border. And a day and a half before we were supposed to leave, I was up at the casinos and I found the desert. And we shot it. One of the best looking scenes in that whole show. The rest of the show, I don't know what happened to it, but that scene was perfect.
It's the beauty of Hollywood. Hey?
But the association of like when you can cheat a location for something that's totally not.
And it's not just the cheating of the location,
But it's like, damn, that's sick. Yeah.
the willingness of Connecticut, especially anything around this area, especially go out to the coast, all the way down to New Haven. Every town has opened its arms to us. Every town says, we like what you're doing. Are you going to spend some money here? We said, of course we're going to spend some money here. Are you going to break anything? We'll try to keep it to small things, we promise. And
To give you guys an idea of how good Russ really is, what I did, we made a big Hollywood film that Taylor referenced a few months ago, and I put Russ together with Ed, and between those two guys, they know the state literally better than anyone. And it's true. We're able to deliver, and the last one was hard. The last one was the hardest film that I've ever had to produce because of the locations. And P.S., I wasn't happy because I had to drive an hour to this insane house that they found. Yeah, which was like literally the farthest possible distance from my house, and I don't like to stay in hotels. So
But it was Rosario Dawson.
it was Rosario Dawson, Star Wars. But those two guys, if you have a production, and you can afford them, I'm kidding. These two guys, and obviously you guys know Ed's relationship with the Alliance. These two guys are the best because they truly know the state, and that's been so important. And I'm going to echo Jonathan Black's message in that it's so important to educate and expound on what this state offers. Besides all of us, still got to shoot it to look like the script. And people think Connecticut is golf courses. That's what I been told, and it's not. It's really unique, right? We all know because we live here or hung around, and but you have to translate that, and you have to do it fast. Because I'll give you guys an example. I won't name names, but it's a big Hollywood actress who I was incredibly generous and nice to, and hired and paid a lot of money to be in one of my movies. And I was in the process of rehiring her and making her a big offer on a new movie. And it wasn't Megan Fox. She was, although we made a movie with Megan Fox, she was down and everything was lined up. And she, in her own sort of confusion over filming in Connecticut previously with me, because we had her in a very rural, remote place, told the executive producer, Connecticut's very rural and it's kind of hidden away. I don't think it'll work for this film. And I actually the movie kind of fell apart for other reasons, but I would have lost the movie had the production, the EPs listened to this very famous actress, which we all have to do, by the way. We all have to listen to our stars at times. And so what's really good about what's happened over the last year and tonight and all the work we've all done is that people are really learning and seeing and understanding, because that's the tough part. Connecticut's confusing and small and not congruent with the way people picture the great shooting states of Atlanta and, previously LA and New York and Canada and New Mexico, and I hear all of them, right? And that's why we have to work so hard to educate. And if you don't know, or not part of it yet, or you don't understand, point to the guys and girls that are doing it. Actually, there's we have a kick-ass location manager, Joanna Liu, who's a New York girl, who's very good. So, it's important to kind of share this message in all areas, even if you're not part of that area, right?
But be prepared, like like when you work in this industry, you can be working like 15-hour days, 16-hour days. There's a long time, we work like doctor hours, but we're not saving lives, but we're trying to save the industry. This industry has been up and down for a couple of years, so like we're trying to make it huge in Connecticut. So that's our goal, right?
And it's tougher for you actors. I was surprised how many people here were raise their hands for who's primarily an actor.
Because they all want to be cast. I don't blame them, right?
Yeah, no, I don't blame you at all. But
Come and tell me how great my last movie was, and I'll definitely put you in my nest.
I thought it was wonderful. I would like a role, please. I'd like a lot of roles. I know.
Because I've been. You're always a cop. You're always a cop. Actually, we made some priests. Yeah, but you made him a priest twice. Yeah, but Ed's in all my movies too.
Yep. But for being cast,
can I tell a funny? Oh, sorry. Go.
I'm just saying real quick for the actors is one of the things you have to realize, especially when you're in Connecticut, because it's inconsistent. You have to be ready. You have to have a job in your real life that you could put off, because if you get a role, we can't guarantee you're going to get that day. And when you're on that day, you could be there 14, 15 hours and say, we didn't get to you. You got to come back tomorrow. And there's a lot of sacrifice. And at least for those of us who are on set, we're there for 15, 16, sometimes 18 hours. We have something to do.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice for everybody on a set. I mean, you could be anyone as a PA. Some PAs don't even get paid. So it's like, hey, you're working 15-hour days just to get experience.
Those are called interns. We gotta get the right vernacular down.
And,
yeah,
right. So I mean, but you're in this industry for a reason. You want to, be in the film industry. You want to expand your experience. So, like Philip Seymour Hoffman was like, hey, you do every job until you can. Like you do every single job until someone says no. And so that's why I say, like, just keep on pushing, like all of us have been doing, so.
Wise words.
And I want to ask you guys, you were talking about locations and everything. And I think, some of you guys being from Connecticut and having, a lot of relationships starting here and everything. Like, Mike was up, talking about New Milford and everything, how that has become now a little film-centric center. And if you don't mind sharing some stories,
sure.
What is it that you found the experience with these local towns and everything, or even local people, relationships that you've made that have really encouraged and helped enhance the pictures that you've made?
Yeah, I grew up in Cromwell, and it's near and dear to me. My father was involved in politics, and he ended up being the superintendent of schools, and he was a very big community man. So I had his relationships growing up, and I was not a theater guy or an actor as a kid. I was a jock growing up, and I played sports, so I got to meet everybody, and everybody knew me. And I went off to college, and then something happened where I said, I kind of am interested in something else. I'm interested in the arts. I was a pretty good artist, but I suppressed all of it. And I don't know if any of you can relate to where, you're kind of surprising yourself, but you're also afraid to say, like, hey, I, got this kind of hidden thing in me that I want to pursue and try for. And I'm a true product of the 80s, where the heroes on the screen were like, it was cool and it was different growing up in the 80s and 90s to where, I didn't grow up in the 90s. I'm kind of old to say that, but grew up in the 80s. And to look and go to the movies and admire, cinema and movie stars. And I kind of caught the tail end of that as a kid. And I realized like, hey, I kind of want to do something with this. And took a film class. And I always tell this story, but it's kind of my origin story. So I went to Providence College on an academic and athletic scholarship, D1 track. So I'm proud to say that because looking back, it was the balance of both kind of worlds. And I got hurt right out of the gate. And I also wasn't a good enough runner to hang with the Irish boys that were kicking my butt. So
You could see him in his track photos.
but in being part of this world of D1 Big East, it's a Big East school. It was a Big East school. I don't know about now, but I got integrated to the easy A classes, as they said, and I took a film class. And this is one of my favorite stories because it's entirely true and it's got a cool bookend. So I took like a film 101 class at Providence College, and all my buddies said take this one. The professors kind of chill with the jocks, and if you show up, you get an A, and you get to watch or sleep through movies. So I ended up realizing like I'm able to check out some films that I'd never seen, and the course was the Catholic imagination of 4 American filmmakers, and it was like Capra, Scorsese, and I was like really into it, and I would look around and all my buddies were sleeping for real, dead asleep, and I was the only one that kind of paid attention. And the professor came up to me and he said, Dave, it appears your last paper was not only the only one I got, it was by default the best one. And so there's a filmmaker that's becoming quite famous as a director in Hollywood that went to school here, and he's trying to set up a program, and we didn't really have funding and all this stuff. Would you come to meet him? And he wouldn't tell me who it was. And this is mid 90s. And I said, sure, and he goes, cool, because I got to kind of build this new thing around the students here. So I went to a bar. That was not very professorish of the professor. We went to a bar, and I met the famous director Peter Farrelly, who's directed, produced, written the great 90s comedies, Dumb and Dumber, Something About Mary, all those big films. And I didn't know who I was meeting. And the only reason I recognized him, it's not like now where you click and you know everybody's face. I was becoming kind of interested in the industry, and I like Access Hollywood just saw him on the red carpet of what's the bowling movie with Bill Murray, Kingpin. And so I knew who it was, and I couldn't even believe I was in this. The expression in our business is in the room. I was in the bar and sitting in this little dive bar with all these college kids, meeting this now famous, powerful, emerging director. And he was getting his pre-production on Something About Mary. And by default, because I was the only guy that didn't fall asleep, but also because I was present and I had a beer with him and, listened, I got an internship on Something About Mary, and ended up, he asked me if I'd ever acted. And I said, no. I said, dude, I took one class and here I am. And so very long story short, there's 100 other pieces to this story. Worked for them for a bit, and got an opportunity to be in a movie that they were producing called Outside Providence, based on a book that Peter wrote, and fell in love with the industry and learned from the top guys that were shooting in the East Coast in the 90s. But here's the cool part of the story. I took this class that everybody slept through and paid attention, went to this meeting, and the apex, the films that were the final part of the class were Martin Scorsese films. Decades later, I produced a movie with Martin Scorsese called Bleed for This. And, you don't tell Martin Scorsese that story because he would be like, yeah, dude, all right, whatever. But it meant a lot to me because it was a true full circle thing that I'm, I still pinch myself over. And to the point about the town and why I'm talking about this, I came out of this thinking I have a start where can I empower myself with friends and family and funding and filming police stuff and filming at a school, and it was my hometown. And it's a lot of what you're seeing. You've heard this story. Jonathan's doing it right now. That's something your community, your extended community, which is all of us now, people that want to be part of it. If you can have a baseline, people know you, understand what you're trying to do, and they want to be part of it, or they're hoping to benefit from it. That's very important to find that core base. In my hometown of Cromwell, I lost count, but I think we've, shot, probably, 10 feature films in pieces of. Sometimes I don't even get to publicize it because
30.
I feel like
Since we were
a lot, a lot. And there's even been films from New York that I've come in on to help finance or help executive produce. And I say, hey, look, we can shoot pretty easily, and in the middle of the night in Cromwell and not get bothered. So I'm really proud.
Winter too.
I'm really proud of that. Chelsea's family, like I'd mentioned, has now moved out here and lives in town, and we built something because of the base that is my heart, and it's part of my story. If you read up on me, if you read any interviews about me, I talk about my town all the time. And, I'm a son of two teachers, two educators, and they taught me community and family, and knocking on doors for help is the way to start. And I've been blessed that that's really been the baseline of my career,
Yeah, Dave has been one of the biggest proponents of not only getting work here in Connecticut, but to try to build the industry in Connecticut. And we've both been trying over the years. We've been networking with everybody we could to try to build the support services that are here to build it. And mainly the support services, a lot of part for the last 15 years, were me and Dave. It's his company and my company. Where what do you need? And we would figure it out. But we'd always have to source half of our stuff from New York or from Boston. And we're trying to get people interested to, get enough work here where we can justify opening up a shop, getting anyone to open up a shop that's more than just, a little bit of a warehouse where you can get some gaff tape and maybe a couple of light fixtures, like something honest to goodness. But to do that, we just need to keep work coming. So we need everybody out there who's making movies in Connecticut to continue to make movies in Connecticut. Let people know that
Keep filming. Let's get a studio lot out here. There's a lot of opportunities out here to make a huge studio lot.
I believe Mr. Ed Cohen has been working on that for a couple months, trying to find us some studio space.
We have a lot of locations, but a studio lot would be insane for this industry to have an actual.
Well, we've tried it a couple times before, and it's just a matter of once we get it, we got to use everybody's out there network. Everybody knows somebody to get that lot booked. You need that thing booked at least 80% of the year to make it to justify it.
Cost feasible.
Nebulous just bought one in New Jersey. We could do it in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a good point I wanted to kind of bring up and lead to is with your experience here, what other things do you guys see that really you should look at focusing in Connecticut to make it a strong film community here? Are there other things that from your experience that you feel like, there's something to address and talk about with?
Well, I certainly think it starts with events like this and the things that have been happening over the year. I also have the polar experience in that many of my movies have been shot out of state for reasons of proximity to the production company, financing, or an EP that had a vested interest in had my story somewhere else, or the state truly did work because that does happen, or a particular movie star needed to be near her summer home or what have you. I've made a lot of my movies also in Rhode Island, and I will say this, and this might be kind of a hot take, but I hope it echoes in the sense that some of the states that have performed prior to us or better than us in a previous avenue have this community, but their support at the higher level, and I think I've met film commissioners that are on set so excited, and I would have wished and hoped that ours were here tonight, and I hope that message gets back to them because they should be here supporting the young talent and people that are doing this or wanting to do this in the state. And that's to answer. And I know your question number 4 because I looked at them and I thought, am I going to kind of fake the funk and say the politically correct thing to say? I think we need a little more support from the bureaucrats and also and also their understanding and involvement on the ground to see the hard work and the passion and the creativity and the desire and the love and all the things that goes into shooting. Like Taylor said, dude, I'm 20 hours a day. I'm not 16, but
He's way more.
I'm
than
kidding,
you,
but
man.
but
way
but
more hours.
the hours and the time, and it takes a long time to get emails back from the state. It takes a long time to understand. There's a flip side to the battle that's after the movie's over, and those are the things that I think we can work on. I'll say no more, but those are the things that I think we can work on as a community, our industry leaders, to improve so we operate at the level that's away from us as filmmakers in a way that is the trajectory of how it should be happening, where it's happened in Hollywood prior to us and away from us.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the whole purpose of the Alliance was that fact of to bring everyone together, to have a unified front, to address it so that not only just the people up in Harvard, but people everywhere within the state embrace what's being done here and really encourage more people to get up with their dreams and make films. And I want to now get to that section, is that you and the team here you have worked within a crew that you've just helped grow. And the fact that you've embraced, these talents of people that have come in and maybe needed some guidance and now given them an opportunity to shine. I think it's a good time if anybody has any questions that we'll set up a mic and come on down here to ask. But I want to ask you guys, wait and see if anybody shows up, if there's anything you want to talk about as far as encouraging these people to
Well,
get
I
more
think
involved.
what would probably, now that the Alliance is growing and there are a bunch of people and there's really some enthusiasm going, I think one of the things an alliance like this I would like to see do sometime in the next future, in the next few months, next couple of years, is start working on some kind of way to streamline connection to distributors for all these people who are making their first movie, making their second movie. They're self-financing. They're doing it. They're making these little tier zeros, and then what do they do with them? And literally in Connecticut right now, you make that, you're on your own. Good luck. Call YouTube. See, maybe they'll do something for you.
You mean
But-
shop them?
Yeah.
Help just get them connected. I mean, right now on this table here, we probably have a Rolodex of about 20%, 30% of all distributors in the United States. We could share that information. And if we count everybody in the room, we're probably covering the globe. And that's the type of thing that if we're going to have an alliance that really wants to build Connecticut and really wants to bring people up from the grassroots, we'll give them a place to go. Say, all right, you made it. God bless you. Fantastic. Here's some people you can look into and see if they might want to take it from you instead of just wandering around. Because that's the hardest thing. It's like being an actor. You raise money for a movie, like, please love my movie. Please love this script. This is so great. Please. And you get the money, and then you make it. And then you have to start over again. Like, please, somebody love this project. I had 50 people love this project into birth. Will somebody please love it enough to buy it and put it on so someone can watch it? Maybe
That's a really good point. And I'm actually mentoring Dana and Randy, who are right there. They just produced an independent film called Nadia's Request, and I'm, when we're able to talk, we've talked about distribution. They did a great job.
Yeah, so Dana, Randy, you raise your hand or stand up. Yeah, quick.
Right. And I feel like my head's gonna explode when someone says, how do I sell my movie? Because it's so complicated, and you have to be an expert. And I don't advertise this, but I also am a sales agent, work with producers as a producer's rep for distribution, and the industry has changed because of how we watch films. So I won't get into it, but there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to understand as you turn the corner from your completed film, to Russ's point. And that's a great topic for future events, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody have any questions? They want to come down the front? Do we have a microphone in the house?
Let's do a mic so we can hear you and see you.
Amanda, you here with Steve, do we have a microphone up there?
Writing director for TV series used by Heart Call, Heart from the Heartbeat. So I've been working on it for many years and many years. Got a chance to meet a lot of filmmakers great job guys like Dave, Joe Young, and a lot of great guys. But I'm in a situation today that I'm curious based on are you guys uh is Film Hub a great
We get into that a lot today.
Figure the bottles.
Someone's here once.
We can hear you. We can.
Where's here? We can hear you. So Tyrone is asking. He's a filmmaker, and he was asking how good what our opinion of Film Hub is as a place to get the door opened. I don't want to really. I will touch that one if I get one more.
It's hard. There's a lot of networks. I mean, you can go Casting Networks, which is a great place.
Russ.
Of distro. Oh,
We've gone through it.
99 with.
It depends what you want it to do. If you want to get it out there, you can get it out there. If you want to, make a living doing it.
How would you go about putting something out if you're a new guy? Like
It's AVOD, which is ad-based video on demand. So I'll sidebar with you because I know your project, and there's a really nice avenue with ad-based revenue for major streamers that will make you money if you were able to deliver the film for sure.
More and more of the smaller filmmakers are doing that. In fact, I talked to several people here who are literally just going that route. They finish their project and they can go AVOD, and with AVOD, ad-based video on demand, you get far more per watch than if you go through somebody else. Like even if you went on Amazon, you're getting pennies for every time someone pays a couple bucks. There's these other things, and Dave has a far better Rolodex of who to talk to on that. But if you can get that, and if you can market it yourself, you can find your own audience and get it out there, you can make your money back far quicker doing that than most other things.
I'll leave that question with this. There's a way now for films that can't meet deliverable cost or production thresholds, or what we call quality control thresholds, that you can now as a filmmaker absolutely get out there. Film Hub's one where you can start making money right away based on how many people watch your movie. So,
Hello. I had to test the microphone, make sure I don't get any feedback or anything. What's up, Dave? What's up, Brian?
What's up, boy?
Hey, Taylor.
Yeah,
hey, Russ.
that's fine.
I know these guys. They're really awesome guys. So my question is twofold. I'm going to just do the first one, and if we have time, we'll do the second one. So Connecticut has this increasing film sort of presence where, for a while we had tax incentives for production houses to move here. We have actual good foliage and landscape for people to shoot at. So what I'm wondering is, what does Connecticut offer in terms of making films that other places might not? What makes Connecticut unique in, what can attract people to actually come here and shoot stuff?
You want to take that, David?
no, go ahead.
All right. I mean, to begin with, Lifetime. I mean, we love the New England area, which is amazing. You don't get that anywhere else. I mean, you can't get that in Colorado. You can't get that in California. There's a lot of things you can do in Connecticut, which you can't do anywhere else. I mean, and Lifetime's a huge thing. We do a lot of holiday movies out here. We do a lot of, Halloween movies out here. So there's a lot to do out here. It's a big venue, I guess, with properties out here.
Not only that, but our connection, just because we're such a small state, so we can pull from Rhode Island, we can pull from Massachusetts, we can pull from New York, we pull from Jersey if we have to. We try not to, but if we have to, it's there. So it does offer, especially a little patch in the middle of the state, kind of a space where you can make a tier 0, tier 1 project probably cheaper than any other of the surrounding states, because we are dead center. So if you need something, you can't get it in Boston, you get it down in Brooklyn. You can't get it in Brooklyn, you get it in Jersey. And you can keep a production rolling, and the access of talent.
Yep.
Yeah, the hiccups, they happen, but there's always a solution. There's a close-by solution, as opposed to 3/4 of the country where you are so far away from anything. When we fell down in New Mexico, we were down. We were down for a week. Whereas you fall down in Connecticut, you can still film. You get a couple pages by the end of the night.
Especially crew network structure, who we have as team members who are willing to work to willing to put so much more in. Not to say that LA has this negative behind them, but they almost clock in, they do their jobs. It's a portal in, portal out. They do their jobs right.
I mean, I've worked in LA, I've worked in Connecticut, and I will tell you right now, the Connecticut has the hardest working crew I've ever dealt with.
Yep.
LA, PDP, LA, in LA, they already know what they want. They already know what they have. In Connecticut, they're very assertive. They don't know what their next project's going to be. So they're going to work 100% to get to that next project. So
How many DPs from LA come in and they say, "Oh my God, this camera department, you guys should be sleeping in the grip truck. You guys are slamming 2x, which my guys in LA do.
Yeah.
I'll hire you forever."
Yeah.
Mark David specific. But it's like, that's the ambition and the drive, because it's not as much availability. There's not that many slots to be filled. Every person works as hard as they can to get those positions. That's respect, and that's something heavy with the boys that we work with. Boys and girls. So yeah.
I guess the second question came and went.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all good.
It's good.
All right. Hi, how are you? My name is Bully Shah. I'm a director, writer, and I've done some acting as well. And I worked a little bit with Insana as well. And my question is that, about, I think 15 years ago, Norwalk Community College did an event where they brought in Hollywood professionals to teach in the college. Now, I happen to be lucky enough to be part of that. I said they brought people from Hollywood and they taught students, and I was part of that. I was part of the PAs. I was part of the film crew. I was just being there, and I think we learned so much just in that 3 months. It was just incredible, and I think that never happened again.
So you're referencing teaching as part of the community, right?
Yeah. So why is it not happen again? Like, why didn't
I've been part of that, and I think that's a great point, and that's something that I'm glad you brought up, because I think as you create the community, or we've kind of realigned, or there's like a reemergence of this community here in Connecticut. And there's been cycles of this, by the way. Like when I first broke into the industry, there was a movement and kind of based in Stanford. But this one's stronger. And I think teaching 100% education, great point. And I'm glad you said it, because I think that's a conversation that the leaders in the industry here in Connecticut are going to start talking about. I think it's a fantastic thought. And that's something that I think should be, absolutely part of what we do next.
The only reason I mention it because I think combining our efforts is one problem, is that I think the actors, producers, and everyone's working separately, individually. The problem is they're not working together. I just lived in LA for about 6 months, and I realized how they're all collectively working. So my next question, just really quickly, is, I know we got a line for distribution. I have some people who are in Dubai, Pakistan, India, and they're not big banner production companies, but they have production. They cannot get their films to get on Netflix, for example, or Amazon, like bigger films. Is there a connect that we can get that?
Let's talk after, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Randy.
Randy Baruso, actor, model, I guess, sometimes. Hey, everybody. So I'm curious, you all have various areas of expertise, whether that be in camera, crew, producing, acting, location scouting. What's some advice you would have given yourself years ago when you first started out that you've learned through the years that was incredibly important, or something that you think people should take with them?
I mean,
That's a loaded one.
it's patience.
I try.
Patience.
Yeah.
I got one for acting. The most important thing, the one I always try to talk to everybody, and it's one of the reasons why I don't act much, is learn who you are, learn what people look at you as. That's the one of the hardest things I find for young actors to get out of their head. They have an image of what they look like, and then you got to do it. You got to get yourself on camera, and you got to get some really honest friends to tell you, no, you think that looks cool. No, you kind of look like a goof, and learn that. And when you can learn how to use that goofiness, where you look like a guy who's trying to look cool, well, then you have a character. That's far more interesting than someone who looks cool. But you got to learn what it looks like when you do things. And I think that's the one thing I see with amateur actors and just starting, who just like, oh, I got to know the lines.
I'm gonna try to drop some real advice, because I always told myself that if I got to this place, I would be incredibly honest, because I had a lot of people that weren't with me, and it's hard to translate this. So I'll say it as bluntly as possible. This is very specific, especially for actors. If you're meeting with someone, or someone, what do they call that now in today's world, DMs you, or is the building blowing up? Okay. Or someone asks you to audition or be in my movie or Jonathan's movie or whoever, check them out first. Make sure that they are at that next level, that they've got professional credits and filmography and are really doing it and are really above where you are. So that way, you're making sure that your time, because the most important thing we all have is time. Your time and your effort with your sending your materials and going to a self-tape or an audition or what have you is well worth it, because there's a lot of bullshitters in this world of entertainment. And I spent a lot of years and time around them. And my message to you, Randy, and to anyone that is wondering on this, check them out. Make sure you're talking to somebody that could really put you in a movie or hire you and do this for real professionally, because it's about sustainability and getting a check and an opportunity and a real credit. That's not some bullshit thing that, is never going to come out, or somebody's fantasy movie that they only show their, their buddies. So
The more you work, the more you know.
absolutely, make sure they're real people, and there's many of them here tonight for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry, we have to cut it short because we're ready for the next panel. But please join me in a round of applause for Gere.
And I just want to say thank you guys for all of you that came to listen. I know a lot of you had more questions, and I've had pieces of conversation. I'm going to stick around so we can continue to answer questions. Thank you to Neil, Jonathan, Bob, and the Alliance, everybody involved, Joe for sure. Thank you, Alec, and we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
100%.
Keep filming in Connecticut too. Let's keep filming in Connecticut.